All right, y'all. Oop, phone call right immediately. So let me turn this music off here. I'm going to share this video with you. What I want you to pay attention to, and some of you probably haven't seen this video yet, but it's a video that I just posted, and it's driving me crazy because people seem to think that physics and muscle, and I mean, I agree with physics. I mean, because the physics comes into play when you do the technique properly. You can get your hand underneath the ball the way you're supposed to. You can get your fingers below the equator. Some of these people, I'm gonna call this person out by name, JS Hotshot 300. Here's some comments. We're gonna read through this discussion we were having. You must understand that the women do not have the hand and wrist strength to be able to get under the ball at release. Some of them do, most don't. And I'm sure you'll realize that. So it's not a product of their environment, it's a strength factor. False. I said no, it is not a strength issue. Reply, it absolutely is a strength issue with the woman. It doesn't matter what position their body is in, they just aren't able to do it. This coming from a person who just doesn't understand the technique. If you don't understand the technique, you really should not be making comments. I'll get to that here in a little bit. If they're able to bend their elbow, yes, then they could get under the ball. But how many of them can do that? All of them. I mean, unless you've had surgery or something that doesn't allow your elbow to bend, I don't know where you're going with that. So what you could try is to take one of these women that you showed in the video and try to get them under the ball and see what happens. I've done that, and actually I've increased the rev rate of a lot of people. So that's because proper technique is much, much more important than strength. I said false. I don't know a single woman that can't hold the ball fingers below the equator for a fraction of a second. You're not holding the ball cupped the whole swing. If you are, then you're doing it wrong. It's literally just a fraction of a second. Once again, where are the videos of these women who are under the ball at the point of release? Well, I already did those. You've got Daria. You've got Verity, kinda. Diana, some girls are much more powerful than others. Sure, they can hold the ball that way. And here we go. This is where it's at right here. Sure, they can hold the ball that way, but they can't release it that way through their approach. You're wrong because you're not supposed to release it that way through your approach. It's literally just a fraction of a second. I said, you're not listening at all. You only have to be under the ball for a fraction of a second, not through the entire approach. You don't seem to understand what proper technique is. JR, I get it fully. I have a PBA card and I know about the hand position. What I'm saying is it's easier said than done for most. I've seen a lot of women and guys trying to do this and use this technique, and they just can't do it even for a fraction of a second. False. Watch the video I just posted this morning. It'll explain it to you because I made a video about it. Thanks, JR, but I'm not the one that needs to see the video. I'm just saying it's easier said than done for those who can't seem to get under the ball a fraction of a second, whether it's physical or something else. I said you do need to see it because you clearly don't understand the technique, and what you're saying is toxic to bowlers. That's my problem. I do not want people pushing out this toxic information, saying that it's strength and this and that, because then what happens? Then these people see that and say, well, I can't compete. I can't hold the ball and do this or that and blah, blah, blah. So I might as well just give up. So bowlers quit. It's unbelievable. Stop doing that. You're wrong. I said, it's all technique. Get it through your head. He says, it's all physics. So get that through your head. I mean, so here, I'm going to show you this video that I just made. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. It's all body position. It's all technique. It's all doing the right thing. Momentum of the swing, all that. As long as you're not using a ton of, it's easier to do if you're not using muscle. So here, watch this. I will show you.
Most times it's going to be because your ball does not fit you.
There we go.
All right, y'all. I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to show you what happens at the bottom of the swing and why muscle isn't really involved when it comes to creating the proper technique and getting your hand below the equator. Everybody's talking about tendons and wrist pain and this and that. Simple fact, if you're having pains and stuff, most times it's going to be because your ball does not fit you properly, because you have to squeeze and you have to do uncomfortable things to be able to even hold on to the ball.
Hold on. That doesn't look like it's working. I'm trying to be on. No, it doesn't look like it's working at all. Hold on a second. Are you guys able to see that video, or am I going crazy? Because it doesn't look like. I'm trying to watch it on a different screen so I can see what's going on. Not seeing the video. Yeah, I don't understand why it's doing that. Why is it not showing the video? Let me remove that. I don't understand that. So let me see if I can just share a video file, maybe. All right, y'all, I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to show you what happens at the bottom of the swing and why muscle isn't really involved when it comes to creating the proper technique and getting your hand below the equator. Now, everybody's talking about tendons and wrist pain and this and that. Simple fact, if you're having pains and stuff, most times it's going to be because your ball does not fit you properly, because you have to squeeze and you have to do uncomfortable things to be able to even hold on to the ball. Get your ball to fit you properly and you won't have an issue. If you have tendon issues, wrist problems and stuff like that, your ball doesn't fit you most cases. Some people just have some genetic disease or something going on, deteriorating bones or whatever it may be, sure. But most people, it's because your ball just doesn't fit you. So now let me show you what you actually do and what your hand does at the bottom of the swing for that fraction of a second that can make it easier for you to understand how to do this technique. BowlerX.com, for the love of bowling. Just had to throw that in there. All right, y'all. So y'all want to talk about thinking of getting cupped. You think you have to stay here all the way through the swing and cup? Yeah, that even bothers me. Of course, that's putting a lot of pressure on the forearm, the bicep, everything. If I'm trying to stay cupped throughout the entire swing, that is going to cause problems. You're not going to be able to do that. And of course, a woman won't be able to do it as easily as a man. We understand that. That's not the technique that you need. Your hand should just be firm in a normal release position right here, just like this. When we get to the bottom of the swing, we actually get lower. The elbow bend comes into play, which allows us to get up underneath it. So basically, the weight of the ball is taken away when you do it correctly at the bottom of the swing. When the ball gets at the top of the swing, as soon as you're coming down, that's when you're lowering and your hand is then going underneath it. So the weight of the ball is going forward and down. And then when you lower your body at the bottom point, your hand is able to scoot right up underneath it for that fraction of a second. So it kind of looks like you're just swinging and then it's just like that. It's right at that bottom point. It's like you're just going down and you're able to, I don't feel any muscle at all there. I'm able to just get here and then tuck my hand up underneath it. See how easy that is? It's swing and it's right there, just tucking underneath it. Because I'm getting lower, I'm allowing my body to get lower than the ball. So essentially, you're dropping your body while the ball is staying up, and then your arm goes up underneath it. So it's the bend of the elbow. It's here, bend of the elbow, and getting underneath it. That doesn't take any strength at all. That is just simply technique. Now, when you're here, and when you're trying to throw your shoulder into it and you're not getting lower, so people are just staying tall or bending over at the waist this way and they're trying to throw it, of course it's going to take a ton of wrist strength to be able to get up underneath when you're bent over like this, because that's what happens. That's causing the momentum of the ball to shoot forward instead of your body getting lower. You're just jerking everything through, and oh yeah, that hurts. Even when I do that, if I'm swinging and then trying to jerk it through with my shoulder, yeah, that's muscle in the forearm and the wrist and everything else. So please, for the love of everything holy, stop telling people that it takes all this strength to do the technique. It doesn't take strength to do this technique. I've got this person that keeps arguing with me and says they don't need to watch a video because they know. You obviously don't, and I don't want people talking about how it takes all this strength and everything, because that is such a toxic thing to teach people. If they see that, they're just going to think, oh, well, I guess I can't hook the ball. I can't do these things. I can't do this. I can't do that. My hands are too small. I don't have a strong enough wrist and all of this different stuff when that's just not the case. And everybody wants to talk about the size of the hands. Again, that doesn't matter because you're using the weight. You're using momentum to get your hand underneath. It's about the position. It's not the size. It's not any of that stuff. Would a bigger hand make it a little easier? Sure, maybe a little bit easier, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. Again, it's not a strength thing. So please, for the love of everything holy, stop telling everybody that it's a strength problem. It is not a strength problem. Does it take some strength? Sure, but it's not more strength than any woman has. Again, I don't know a single woman. Now I'm gonna do it right here. I like that. I don't know a single woman whose ball fits them correctly that can't do this for a fraction of a second. Now, if you're asking them to hold it like this all the way through the swing, yeah, of course, like I can even feel that. Like that's straining my muscles right now. But to just go like that for a second, that's nothing. Any woman in the world can do that unless you've got some major problem with your hand. So please stop telling people that this is a strength problem. Okay, I'm out of here. Have fun, y'all. All right, y'all need to listen to that guy. He's pretty smart. I'm not gonna lie. So, seems like maybe miscommunication, maybe natural strength versus forced. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it, because here's one of the major issues with women in bowling. Women seem to lack whether anybody wants to admit it or not. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, they you use a little bit of muscle on your swing. I mean, because that's where a lot of some of your speed will come from. And that was another topic of conversation, was the two-handers. The two-handers, somebody was trying to say, well, the two-handers don't use upper body strength. Well, yeah, they do. They have to. Their swing is so abbreviated. They've only got a couple of feet they move the ball. Where do you think that's going to come from? They already have to move their feet faster than a one-hander does because they don't have the momentum of the swing going way up and way back down. So now they have to use a little bit more upper body and, hip strength and torso, all those things to be able to throw it a little bit, So it's just what it is. But with the women, they're trying to create more ball speed, not just with their feet, but they're trying to create more momentum. So they do actually throw their shoulder into it a little bit. So when their shoulder comes forward, it makes it very difficult for them to keep underneath it, because now they're pulling on the ball, which you got the force of the arm and then the force of the ball itself. Now trying to tuck underneath on top of that just can't happen. The problem that I think a lot of people have when they try to master this technique is if they do it slow enough and just let the ball fall so they can tuck underneath it properly, then their ball speed goes way down. So the problem becomes, how do I create the rev rate and throw it hard still? That is a very difficult thing to do. And again, it's all technique. It's all being in the proper positions and doing the right things with your hand and having your body do it at the same time. That's why when you watch people like EJ Tackett, who use their thumb and put 500 RPM on it and still throw it 19 miles an hour, that is mind-boggling, because it takes such great technique to be able to do that. And for anybody to say, well, I'm a 250 rev player and I can't seem to get my rev rate up, but my ball speed is 30 miles an hour. That's because you're throwing the ball. You're not rolling it. You're not letting it fall. You're not slowing everything down and tucking underneath. You're simply throwing your shoulders and everything into it, which doesn't allow you to get your hand up underneath the ball. So you've got to pay attention to these things. Anybody that tries to tell you that it's all strength, that, I just don't have the wrist strength, or, I can't do this or that because I'm not strong enough, you're full of crap. And these people need to stop teaching that, because it's hurting bowlers. It's making bowlers lose faith that they can actually do the proper things. It's not a strength thing. So, okay. Got my venting out. I'm just going to start blocking these people that start making these ridiculous comments. What am I on a slippery slope for? What's my slippery slope? Spine tilt, knee bend, and leverage it creates isn't very well understood. Right, exactly. I agree. Honestly, the problem is there's a lot of people that just simply don't understand the physics behind the game or the body positions behind the game because it's changed so much over the years. It used to be just move your feet, keep your hand firm, keep your hand directly behind it, and even being on top of it is okay because all you're doing is walking right and throwing it up the lane with a little bit of side rotation. You were golden. But now that this game requires you to play all parts of the lane and creating power to be able to keep up with the people who have natural power, you've got to adapt, folks. You've got to figure it out. You've got to get coaching. You've got to do the right thing in order to get better. And it's not going to be an overnight thing. I'm not saying you can come to me and get a lesson and you're all of a sudden going to gain 100 RPM. No, it's going to take you practicing at home. It's going to take you practicing every single day in order to, whatever, woman comment, whatever, cancel me. Good luck. I mean, you want to talk? I'm simply speaking facts. It's 100% factual that the women in this game were taught to create speed using their shoulders. And they're trying to throw the ball harder. They're not using physical attributes in order to create momentum and a little bit more ball speed and proper technique with keeping their hand underneath the ball. That's why so many college players, it's just all, and even the professionals, they're all throwing the ball from further right up the lane because they're not doing the power game techniques. It's not that they can't, it's just that they're not doing it. And it's not that they're not capable, they're just not doing it. That's just not what they've been taught. This is one of the few games that gender doesn't have to create a gap. It's nearly all. I agree 100%. Do I think that having more strength and stuff can be an advantage? 100%. If your legs are stronger, if your cores are stronger, it makes it easier to get into those positions. It makes all of the proper techniques easier to create by having stronger body. So I'm not saying that strength isn't involved. I'm saying it's not a 100% necessity to be able to do it. Let's answer a question. Change subject, but I have an issue with inconsistent ball speed on my first shot range from 12 to 14. More consistent? Yeah, stop pulling it through. At some point at the bottom or at the top of the swing, on one shot, you're pulling it down. On the next shot, you're not. You're decelling or you're accelerating, one or the other. You've got to focus on making sure that the technique is the same all the way through. Don't change it. Just let it fall. The only thing you change is your foot speed. Or if that's all you're doing, then your foot speed is changing. You've got to figure out your technique and you've got to master it. You've got to get it done right. Imagine 400 plus revs at 13 mile an hour. How far left the ladies need to stand? Yeah. And that's where, again, more proper technique. Now you move your feet faster because speed comes from moving your feet faster. If your swing's not high enough to create all that momentum, I guess you need to figure out how to raise your swing just a little bit too. If you've got just a swing that only goes a foot behind your butt, good luck throwing it harder because you're not going to create much momentum. Then you have to throw it with your shoulder. That's not okay either. This is true. People hate it. I get told all the time, it's like, can't you ever be wrong? Why do you always have to be right? It's not my fault that I'm right. I mean, it is my fault because I research, I study, I look at things. I actually try to figure out what is going on in the world. I don't just spew based off of emotions. I talk based on exactly facts. Here are the physical limitations of people. Here's what people can do. This that I'm talking about is everything that anybody can do unless you have issues. If you've got like tendonitis or if you've got major wrist issues, you had surgery, something like that, then sure you're gonna have problems. But good grief, like these people that just what do you want me? You want me to admit that I'm wrong when I'm not wrong? Like, oh, you just want me to pretend to be wrong? Like, is that what this is supposed to be? Like, somebody show me where I'm wrong, and then if I am wrong, I will tell you I'm wrong. There's been many times where if I don't know for sure, for a fact, I will generally say, yeah, I'm not 100% on this. I could be wrong, and then I'll go into it. So it's just, man, it's brutal trying to get the word across for these people sometimes because everybody's offended. Everybody wants to be offended by everything. You don't agree with what I say, so you want to be offended. Well, I'm sorry that you're offended. Like that, your being offended isn't going to affect me at all. I'm going to continue to teach and coach and do the things that I'm supposed to do. So it is what it is. Where do we find links for your virtual coaching? Actually, I don't have anything available as far as virtual coaching goes right now. What I am doing is I'm putting together some training classes and stuff that are going to be available on a new website that I'm building, where people will be able to purchase the training basically curriculum for the specific topic that you want to learn. You'll be able to download it and you'll have access to it and all that stuff. So I am working on that as we speak. So just be patient there. Not a female, just started bowling without wrist support 6 months back after 10 years. Yeah. And I think that's a thing. Like, the wrist supports are meant for training devices only. These people that continue to use them year after year after year, it's very, very difficult. You're creating bad muscle memory. You're making it difficult for you to even gain a little bit of extra strength or anything in that manner if you're using a wrist support. Yeah. And the wrist supports don't allow you to do the things that you really want to do. All right. Major wrist issues and make it through with good technique. The wrist strength argument baffles me. I agree 100%. And yes, Jace, I've seen you throw the ball. You throw it very good, and your wrist issues could be a fit issue. You might want to just check the fit. You just never know. Great videos. I know. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'll hit that. Make sure to hit the like button, show some love, comment, all that good stuff, just so that way we can get the word out about all this stuff. Because how many people do you actually know that are actually going to just come out and just tell you the way it is? Not many people are going to do it because they're so worried about cancel culture and all this other crap. Do you know if two-handers push the ball for more speed? I think I'm staying too loose. Just need no muscle pulling down, but push at release. Most two-handers actually, the way they are using the swing is it's still front to back. You just don't want to be throwing it left to right. You don't want to be shoving it that way. It's still front to back and throwing it forward. So I think it's a lot of hip rotation. It's throwing the hips into it and getting the ball to swing through. I think it's a lot of hips and torso turning, but your swing stays in line front to back. So no, I wouldn't say you're pushing it. I would say you're maybe using a little bit of your shoulders. Because you have to, again, you have an abbreviated swing. You don't have a whole lot of momentum to work with. So you have to throw it harder somehow. And I think that's where, when I was messing around with two-handed bowling a little bit, that's where I was getting confused. Like, how in the hell do I create ball speed without using muscle? And I'm sitting there throwing it 12, 13 miles an hour, hook in the lane. I'm like, well, I have no chance of playing straighter ever because I can't create ball speed. And that's when it dawned on me, like, okay, well, obviously you have to use some muscle because you have no swing, no momentum or anything. You've got to find it somewhere, and that's where it comes from. You've touched on, you've talked technique. Can you touch on fit and things to talk about with your shot pitch? There's a video I put, hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, so I want to show you, here's what we look for with fit when it comes to your fit. Let me see if I can, table's in the way, hold on. Disappear, back this up. All right, so with fit, what we're looking for is, I need to be taller, I'm not tall enough. When the ball is hanging by your side like this, over here, the ball shouldn't come off your hand. It should feel tight. You should feel the pressures on the sides. Nothing should come off. You should have to really wiggle it to get the ball to fall off. But once you rotate this way, and then as you get your hand to come up where your thumb gets parallel, so once you go up and rotate up this way, the thumb should come straight off. You should feel, hush, what are you whining for? The thumb should come off once your thumb gets parallel, so from here. But when the ball is on your hand this way, you can't get it off unless you wiggle your hand or you pull your thumb out. Okay, so pay attention to that. So when it comes to fit, that's where people get confused. All right, people don't pay attention to a lot of these different things when it comes to your fit and everything. So you got to pay attention. Do you have pain in certain parts of your hand? Do you have pain on in all these different areas? Does the ball just fall off your hand too early? You know, any of this stuff. All right, let me see here. When I get the arm bent right, I notice the revs go up without a lot of effort. It's all about working on it and keeping an open mind. Exactly. I agree with that. And those things you can practice at home. You can just kind of toss the ball into your couch, bend the elbow and let the ball swing, bend the elbow, and then get underneath it and make sure you're tucking it and kind of throw it into the couch. That's fine. And a lot of it is visualizing. Visualize yourself doing it. You've got to be able to see it. Mark, that's because I drilled it. Like when you come in and you get a ball laid out properly, that's how it goes. Appreciate you coming in, by the way. And any of you haven't came into the shop, I don't understand why. Even if I mean, I get people that come from hours away. I've had people come from California out to the shop before. So it's pretty crazy. But if y'all are even within a couple hours, there's no reason you haven't come up to the shop yet. I like the detail you do on all your ball reviews. Rollers that can be used in multiple angles. Yeah, I agree. 100%. That's why I do it. I see some two-handers that twist. Looks like an injury waiting to happen. Yeah. And it's because they're just trying to throw the ball hard. They're trying to get the ball down the lane. The rev rate goes up, and the rev rate goes up because their thumb is already cleared. So they're putting nothing but finger into it. And that's just kind of how it goes. And it's great. And it's awesome for creating technique and learning how to curve it and everything like that. You know, honestly, I love drilling balls for two-handers better than balls for, you know, people that use their thumb, because it is such a huge technique clearing that thumb. It's very difficult to get done properly. And if you can't clear that thumb way before the fingers, you're just not going to do it. And that's the other thing is, you know, what people aren't realizing, what I was talking about, the fit thing with your hand getting parallel, your thumb getting parallel, you know, if you can't get under the ball, you know, properly, your thumb's not going to get parallel until it's out in front of you. So again, let me show you. I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a demonstration here again. So when you're throwing the ball, when you're here, if your hand is on top of the ball this way, right, on top of the ball, my thumb isn't parallel, right? Where does my thumb finally start to get parallel with the ground? It's not until out here that the ball actually starts to come off your hand. And at that point, that's when you start turning and you're twisting and the ball's off your hand out here. You've got no fingers in the ball because of this. When you actually get under the ball and you're in that technique where you're tucking right here, now look, my thumb is parallel right here. It's already starting to come off my thumb. And now my fingers can just rotate through, and I have from here to create all that massive movement with my hand and rotate through the ball. That's what people aren't understanding. I don't understand. And I don't understand why coaches aren't teaching this. Why are people not teaching these techniques? And maybe some are. I'm sure some of the good coaches are, but I keep having people come in to talk to me, and they're just like, I've never heard this before. I've never heard anybody. I don't see any other videos around. I don't see anybody talking about these things, and I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, are we trying to keep secrets? Like, what are we trying to do here? So y'all need to come to the shop. Like, I don't have a ton of time for lessons and stuff, but I can check your fit. I can get it fitting properly. We can do all those things to make it to where all these techniques get easier. If you don't have a good fitting ball, these techniques are almost impossible. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're almost impossible. And you know, even a good pro shop, they might not get it right the first time. It's going to take a couple of different tries and different, guesses on it to get you to do it the right way. Yeah, see, Mark agrees with me. He gets it. He gets it. Unfortunately, there's so many amateur bowlers with high rev rate that muscle the hell out of it and think that's what, yeah, I agree. That is a problem. Wore a brace 15 years plus due to injuries and working with JR. I'm finally out of the brace. Yeah. Jeff's from Cincinnati area, and he's drove up a few different times to come see me. Many bowlers are afraid to have their thumb tight enough in the ball. It's because it doesn't fit them properly. Exactly. Figure eight arm swing, something we should work on? Not necessarily, unless you have an issue getting your elbow inside. If you have an issue getting your hand and your elbow to the inside, then yeah, maybe the figure eight swing would actually help. Addressing the title of the video, my strength has dropped by 50%. 490 rev rate hasn't dropped at all. Only ball speed has gone down. And again, that's just, if you've lost strength in the legs and stuff, then yeah, that could be an issue. But just try to speed your feet up. Try to get your or raise your swing just a little bit. Just get it. Start the ball a little bit higher in the push away to see if the momentum of the swing will take it up just a pinch higher. Even just 6 inches can create another mile an hour. So you've got to be trying different techniques to create these different things. I too have noticed a bent elbow increases revs with no extra effort. However, my aim is suffering. Yeah, and it's just practicing the technique there, Ron. Just you got to keep practicing. You got to do whatever you got to do to gain some accuracy. Put some targets out there, visualize, do what you got to do. Just get better. Keep working on the techniques. It'll get easier and easier as you go. I promise you. John Taylor. If you're within 4 hours, you just take a drive and go see these guys. It's a game changer on how well the ball fits when you're done. I agree. Thanks, John. Good to hear from you. I am looking to get on, which one's good. There you go. Yeah. Change pitch on the thumb, improve my release tenfold. See, these guys get it. These guys understand. Yeah, my dog was just laying there like, dude, what are you doing? Like when I had the ball on the chair and was showing you how your ball should fit, she was going crazy. Like she thought I was going to throw it or something. She was all whiny. Yes, Emmanuel, you got work to do, but it's not impossible. It's just going to take time. It's going to take practice, How important is finger insert size? How much oversized can you go? I wouldn't be going too big unless you're going vacuum grips, unless you're going to make the hole bigger and go smaller in size. So that way you can kind of push your fingers into them and make them tight, because you do want them kind of tight. You want to be able to feel control. You know what I'm saying? If your fingers are getting into go vacuum grips. If your fingers are swelling and stuff, that's probably a pitch issue too. But or it's a diet issue. If you're drinking beer, if you're eating pizza or salty foods, stuff like that can affect you throughout the night. So make sure, I would just go vacuum grips and then use tape on your fingers or something so you don't crack and all that stuff. No big deal. Yeah, exactly what Shane just said here. Go into vacuum grips. It's perfect. That's what I do. I use it. I just tape my fingers. There you go. Been to a few of the clinics, and it's always worth it, especially now with me trying to bowl left-handed. Yeah, Rich switched from right-handed to left-handed because he got hurt, so he had to switch over. And he came to the Rev Right clinic, and he was kind of hooking it off the lane there for a minute. Unfortunately, he's got to figure out some ball speed and stuff, but he's got more natural talent than a lot of guys, so he was able to pull it together pretty quick. Bowl on a USBC league, and they said the lane's going to change. We bowl on 45-foot house shot. What urethane ball is good to drill? Purple Hammer. All day, every day. Purple Hammer. It's the best on the market. All right. Having trouble increasing my rev rate and play left. I really want to bend the elbow like my competitive league at Country Lanes Tuesday night. But just watch some of these videos, man. Just watch some of these videos. Work on the technique at home. You don't have to be at the bowling alley to be able to do these things. Just work on it. Just get better. Get everything going. Thanks, Bowl 300. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. I don't disagree, but I did a lefty versus righty type video earlier, talking about this whole topic with the left side and the right side. And that's one of the things that, one of the ball that kind of makes it possible for the lefties to do what they do is, that purple hammer or even urethane in general, trying to get those balls to read quicker. It's a key thing for them with all these lane surfaces that are getting older now. The synthetic surfaces are just they're getting beat up. They're not as new as what they were. And so the left side holds up a little bit quicker than or a little bit better than the right side does. And those purple hammers read early and they keep going and they do all the right things. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to jump out of here, y'all. I just kind of wanted to jump on for a hot minute. We've been on here for 40 minutes, but I think we've got that down pack now. We'll see if this guy makes any more comments about how much strength it actually takes. So appreciate y'all. And until I see you again, we'll see you again.